I'm trying to think of an intro here, and I just can't help but continue to notice that there are some scissors left on set today. Let's check out who they belong to. Property of Marissa's mother. Wait, but I'm not Ramses. But I'm scared. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real recap and review for Love is Blind Season 7. Tonight we're talking all about the Season 7 reunion. This is the final episode of the season, and guys, it has been such a journey. Thank you so much for supporting each and every recap. If you've missed any of them, or maybe this is your first time tuning into the channel, you can find all those links down in the description below. And if it is your first time, thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you stay and get subscribed to the channel for more recaps and reviews like this, plus a lot more movies. We're going to talk about a lot of TV coming up. Hey, the year's not over. We're getting into awards season, and it's about to be a busy one. Oh, and y'all gotta let me know in the comments, what do you think about the reunion? Because it got real dramatic in the middle. But like we always do, we're not spoiling anything right away. We're gonna get into my spoiler-free thoughts, and then we'll get into my spoiler-filled recap. So, let's begin. Now, the Season 7 reunion comes in at about an hour and 30 minutes, which seems to be pretty typical for these reunions. And I will say, there were moments where they were eating up every bit of screen time, and I loved it. I said, yes, take advantage of every second, Lachey's. Did they do a bad job is probably what you're wondering. I would say the beginning was really rocky. There were some dad jokes that were being made, and that Nick Lachey was maybe harping a little too much on the Taylor Swift jokes. Because, you know, Garrett, Taylor's version, you got me. But, man, I was thinking, all right, this is bad. But it was actually not a terrible job. They did fine. And there were some questions they asked, and I thought, oh, this person's not getting let off easy. However, I will say, and we'll get into this in the spoiler discussion in more detail, there were a couple of segments that felt too short, and I thought, we should have spent more time on that, and less time on checking in on some past couples and past contestants. I just don't care about those segments. I want to know the tea from our current season's contestants. And for the most part, I was satisfied. I will say, I'm satisfied with this reunion. There were some moments and I thought, okay, you got. And I thought, okay, this is good. Then there were some instances where maybe some couples did not get a lot of screen time, but that's because they're super unproblematic, and you know which couple that is. Of course, it's Garrett and Taylor. They're incredibly unproblematic this season, right? And they were my number one couple. They got married, and, you know, they didn't really focus on them too much in this reunion. But I will say there were some others, of course, like Monica, Steven, Hannah, Marissa, Nick, Ramses even. Yo, thank God that they did not have Marissa's mother, Vanessa, on stage. Because if she was even within arm's length of Ramses, bro, you probably would not have made it out of that reunion unscathed. But for the most part, the drama was there, the pacing was fine, and you know what? Again, the Lacheys did a decent job. So this reunion is a win for Love is Blind fans this season. But now it's time to get right into my spoiler-filled thoughts. So, hey, spoiler warning if you haven't watched the reunion. And if you don't want to get spoiled, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, come back again, save this to your watch later list after you watch the reunion. I think I just bumped my microphone, I'm sorry. And then we can talk all spoilers. But for now, for those who stayed up late and like me are kind of crazy doing this on a school night, it's time to get into my spoiler-filled recap for the Season 7 reunion of Love is Blind. Alrighty. Cue the Psycho theme song. I still got the scissors. And I'm not making this up, you guys. The reunion literally begins with a quick montage of who's behind the door and the silhouettes that you see, and Marissa's mom had scissors in her hand. My goodness. That's not great for Ramses. But let's go through who they introduced first, those who are on stage. We had Taylor and Garrett introduced at the beginning, then Tyler and Ashley were next. You had Marissa come in solo, Ramses by himself, Hannah by herself, Nick D, of course, by himself. Then you had Steven, Monica, and Alex all solo, and we got rounded out with Tim. he was introduced by himself and looked kind of goofy. Don't know why, but don't tell him I said that because he might get mad and yell at me. Listen, I'm not calling you outside your name, I promise. So the Lacheys do what they always do when they introduce the live audience in attendance and the audience watching at home to the Season 7 reunion. And like I mentioned to you guys in the spoiler-free recap section of this video, Nick Lachey made some, and so did Vanessa Lachey, of course, made some, very on-the-nose jokes, and they were intentionally like dad jokes. But the one joke that Nick Lachey made me laugh because of the editing decision. He said, some of our couples are going to have to work out some kinks, and then it pans right to Steven. It cuts right to Steven's face, and I laughed because if you know, and you remember, he was side texting another woman, who wasn't Monica, of course, and, well, they were talking about their fetishes. Ugh, makes me want to vomit. So as we scan through each contestant on the couches, Ashley and Tyler are seen cheesing together, and Ashley, you're smiling like you just don't know yet about Tyler's child support payments. Then you have Taylor's parents who are in attendance, which is pretty cool to see. We did not see Garrett's parents in attendance. If they were there, the cameras didn't show them, but it was interesting. It would have been maybe kind of cool to see like both parents there, but hey, one set of parents, that's fine. And very early on, we do get confirmation that yes, Taylor and Garrett are still married, like we talked about in my video that led up to this recap for the reunion. I mentioned that Garrett went on TikTok and said he can neither confirm nor deny that he is still married to Taylor, and because he didn't confirm it outright, people were saying, oh my gosh, maybe they're not together. But no, they squashed that rumor, or I guess that speculation, very early on. They're still together. And then this is where Nick Lachey makes these terrible Taylor Swift jokes, and I'm gonna be honest, they was a little forced, and this is where I started to get worried. Hey, bring the ship back up, or the plane, Lachey's, please. Don't ruin this for all of us who are staying up very late to watch this. Yeah, I'm tired. But thankfully they shaved up. And we find out that Garrett took Taylor fishing and the crowd goes mild. You know what? I think the crowd was expecting right off the bat for there to be some drama. So when they opened up with the pleasantries, the crowd's probably thinking, hold on. What? No, that's not what I came here for. Of course, they get what they asked for shortly after. But not before we get more fishing photos. It's a montage with Garrett, Taylor, and Tim on a boat. It was not very entertaining. Anyways, they moved on from that pretty quickly. So then we get into our first, I guess, glimpse into our couples and where they're at, or the ones that made it to the altar and said I do. So Ashley and Tyler, Taylor and Garrett, we find out that they've been married for about a year at the time of this recording for the reunion. So I guess maybe like a year and a half now in real time, I'm not sure. But it is an interesting timeline for the reunion that they brought them back a whole year after they did everything. Well, I guess that's standard, let me know. And then we find out that in attendance are also some past contestants like AD. And I love the fact that AD was given a lot of looks to Marshall throughout the night, especially when Vanessa brings up the fact that, hey, Tyler, let's talk about you donating sperm. So yeah, they transition into this moment real quickly. So it's now time to jump into Ashley and Tyler's opening segment. And Vanessa Lachey looks at Tyler and says, do we technically have 3 Love is Blind babies? No, I'm kidding. She doesn't say that at all. She's like, yo, Tyler, let's clarify some of the things you said during the show and some of the stuff that's been spilled online. And this is all about the involvement Tyler has in his children's lives. So apparently Tyler says, all right, let me set the record straight here. Hey, this was my friend and her wife left her, and so I stepped in voluntarily to help with the children. Now, one thing I noticed is that Ashley's hand is on his leg the entire time. Tyler's welling up in his eyes. He's getting all teary. And Ashley basically is telling us without telling us. She also says it verbally. But at this point in the reunion, she's like, it's my man and I'm sticking beside him. You know what? Guess I can't really fault her. She did say she'd ride or die for him, right? And then we hear a voice off screen that says, we got your back, bro. And that was Garrett. Garrett is a boy's boy. You know how they say like a girl's girl, like a boy's boy, because he is sticking up for his boys this entire reunion. Tyler eventually then says, hey, my wife and I, we're good, and I'm not going to keep harping on it. Yeah, Tyler, put your foot down. But no one brought up the child support payments. That would have really been something interesting, huh? But Ashley decides to also chime in and says, and I quote, who do you think has better insight, social media or me? Well, at the time that we found out on television on Netflix, it seemed like social media had more insight than you, Ashley. However, I see what Ashley's getting at. She's saying that basically, don't disrespect me, right? Because Tyler and I have had these conversations off camera, but then she sort of confused me. She was implying that she had knowledge of his involvement with the children in which he had with his friend. So basically, he did lie to her on camera. Remember, he said, I don't know what they look like. I don't think so. But then she's upset because he lied to her about, you know what I mean? Like, so what happened? Well, they kind of clear that up. Ashley defends the situation and says, no, I knew Tyler was lying to me when he said he didn't know what the kids look like. So we had more conversations off camera, but I needed to have a part of this conversation on camera. So listen, if you're just as confused as I am, that's fine, because the bottom line is Ashley's giving Tyler grace, needed to have this conversation on camera. Tyler said what he said, and I'm guessing when the producers left, that's when Tyler said, okay, Ashley, listen, you probably caught on, right? I am definitely lying. I know what these kids look like. We spend Christmases together. We have matching pajamas. Are you still going to marry me? And Ashley said, well, might as well go all the way now. And that is the Spark Notes version of their segment. So instead of going to another season 7 contestant or former couple, we actually get an AD spotlight. You guys remember AD, right? I hope you do, because we covered it right here on the channel. So if you missed out on those recaps, check it out. But AD, formerly on the show as well in the previous season, she was there with Marshall, and they asked, they being the Lacheys, hey, AD, so what have you been up to? And AD says, well, you know, nothing too much. And then they're like, okay, do you have a man? And she said, yes, but I'm not telling you anything. I know you, Lachey. I know what you're going to ask. No. So AD is off the market, you guys. And this is where we finally get our perspective shifted back to our season 7 contestants. It's time for the Marissa and Ramses segment. Oh man, these scissors are getting a workout during this recap. But Ramses looked just as uncomfortable as you would assume, basically right as the segment began, and that's for good reason, because I'm gonna be honest, Ramses, you did not have the high ground here, okay? Marissa and Marissa's mom were coming and they smelled blood. The cut to Marissa's mom immediately sent me at the beginning of this segment. I was almost falling out of my chair with my dinner in my mouth. Marissa is clearly still reeling from the fact that Ramses dumped her in what felt like a very spontaneous moment during the end of their engagement. So Ramses said, hey, listen, watching this back was really difficult for me, and I feel bad about the way I handled this. Maybe we should have ended it earlier. But when he was asked, what derailed the engagement for you so quickly, I could not focus on his answer right away. And that's because he was wearing these like long sleeve fishnet things that went over his hand, and I kept thinking, do you and Dom from Perfect Match just shop from the same stores, have the same closet, or maybe the same stylist? Because it was giving that energy. But long story short, what derailed the engagement for Ramses was the fact that they had some differences that they just couldn't overcome, and I'm guessing one of them was the military angle. But hey, enough of that. You don't want to no, you want to hear about Marissa's mom, Vanessa, right? So they do go to Marissa's mom, and she said this is the first time since the engagement that she's seen Ramses, but the fact that she had a conversation with Ramses on the day, right? In that same time frame of when he dumped her, I was immediately wondering, where's that footage? Because she said, hey, I was on the way already for the wedding, but when it happened, I figured, okay, I'm still going to go and I need to speak with Ramses. And she said she spoke with Ramses on that same day. Maybe I'm wrong on the timeline here, but that's what she was implying. And she said she wanted to, quote unquote, punch him in the throat. Oh boy. All right, listen, Netflix, right? You're starting to do live sports and boxing matches. Get Marissa's mom in the ring with Ramses right now. But from this point on, Marissa's mom said, I am not playing games. I'm going to tell you how I really feel. And she said, I'm glad that you, Ramses, called off the engagement, because Marissa would have carried this relationship. She also adds that Ramses completely broke Marissa, and that I definitely believe. Marissa is still dealing with a little hurt from this, and she was still clearly emotional on stage, but Ramses, man, bruh. I don't know, he did not come out as a winner here. However, this was one of the segments that felt a little too short. It almost feels like Lachey's let Ramses off easy, because then they transition to Zack and Bliss. So they're going from like current contestants to past contestants and so on and so forth. But Zack and Bliss are in attendance. Listen, we covered their season on the channel. We all know how that happened. But they seem good together and they have their baby with them. I mean, yes, they're at the studio themselves, but the baby's backstage. This is where I was like, oh, this is interesting during their segment, because they reveal the name for their daughter, and it is Galileo. I wonder if they have a second child, will they name that child Aristotle? Let's not stop. Icarus, where you at? Admittedly, I fast forwarded through some parts of this reunion, and it was because they showed footage that I've already seen, like the flashback montage to Zack and Bliss's love story. Honestly, we probably could have used this time to just focus on Marissa and Ramses' segment. But alrighty guys, I'm not rubbing my hands like Birdman. I am rubbing my hands in a way that is, you better strap in. Like that is what you need to do right now, because if you watch the reunion, you know the segment they spent the absolute most time on, and it was Nick and Hannah's moment. So they really focus at the beginning on Hannah's attitude and the way that she spoke to Nick. Vanessa Lachey asked Hannah, hey, do you feel like maybe you were too direct? And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know the answer is yes. But Hannah recognizes this. She says, yeah, I did sound like a jerk, but everything I said was true. So it's almost like, yeah, I was direct, but also I'm not wrong. So she was sort of taking accountability in some moments until she didn't. Nick did say, hey, I'm not surprised by your answer, Hannah, and you know, you are doubling down on what you said. I expect nothing less. But Nick is not giving her a pass and says, I still don't like the comments that you made about me. So Garrett then, like I told y'all, boy's boy, right? Garrett said, listen, I'm impressed, Nick, by your patience throughout this whole process. And at this point, if you could only see what was coming next, I bet Taylor would have just nudged him right in the hamstring and said, homeboy, stop speaking. So Hannah apologizes to Nick eventually and says, I realize, yes, I could have worded things differently. And Nick said, nah, it's fine. And then they move on to Hannah and her glow up is what the Lacheys called it. But this is where Hannah begins to start speaking really quickly, and I'm noticing, am I watching this on 1.25 times speed? No, I'm watching this on normal speed. She's speaking pretty quickly because I believe she's a little uncomfortable, or she wants to just get straight to the T. Nick tries to actually compliment Hannah in this moment and says, listen, Hannah's a fantastic person, and I believe she's getting too much hate online. So Hannah clocks that and says, hold on, homeboy. So if you think that, and I quote, why are you liking the hate comments on your page? Okay, round one. Begin. So Hannah begins revealing things about Nick that we didn't know, which is Nick wrote some goals for himself, 3 of them. One of them being that he wants to, and I quote, be the most famous person on Love is Blind. Nick admits, I did write this goal and the other 2 goals, but they were 90-day goals that my buddy told me I need to do, and somehow that end of the 90 days with this goal happened to be 2 weeks before we started filming. I didn't even think I was going to get on Love is Blind. Silly me, I got on. And, well, this is a bit of a concerning character trait for Nick, because remember, back in week 1 or 2, I believe it was, I think it was week 2, maybe it's week 1, but they go to the couples party in Mexico, a very early one, and then Nick is like, hey, Hannah, I have an image to, reputation to protect back at home. Let's not talk about our relations. I know y'all remember that. But Nick says, listen, everyone on stage would say I'm the same dude from start to finish. Well, except for Hannah. And then Marissa put on her cape and said, I'm going to bat for one of my good friends, Hannah. And then it became a 2v1 very quickly. Marissa says, and me, like, you're not fooling me either, Nikki D. And, I mean, listen, girl, we know you hate Nick, but wow, like, it just came out in full force here in this reunion. So Vanessa Lachey then positions a statement that questioned Nick as if he maybe wasn't very genuine in coming on the show. Nick is trying to defend himself, but Hannah says, okay, next subject. You're not getting off easy. Hannah said, listen, Nick, I heard that you called me ugly behind my back, calling me a grenade. I don't even know what that alludes to. Shape? Texture? I don't even know why I said that. But Nick shakes his head in disbelief and says, basically, no, I did not say this. So Nick begins to clap back at Marissa and Hannah and recognizes real fast that they are teaming up on him. Nick then brings up the fact that, hey, I texted you recently. I haven't ghosted you at all. I still care for you. And Hannah says, hey, you only texted me because I found out that you were DMing another girl, and she sent me a screenshot saying that you were going to fly me out for the reunion. Well, fly out that random girl. So apparently, all of these DMs Nick is making to these other girls are bringing it back to Hannah's attention. Oh, Nick. Oh, boy. Well, Nick denies this, but then Hannah shushes Nick, almost like she has some sort of ownership over him still, and this irks me about Hannah. Listen, you guys know, both of them were not meant to be, but Hannah, the way she sort of patronizes Nick and then treats him like a child is really weird behavior. So as Nick is denying all of Hannah's claims, Monica, a surprise Monica, shows up and chimes in and says, Nick, you did speak about Hannah's looks with Steven, which is Monica's ex-fiancé. So Nick says that didn't happen, but then Alex chimes in and says it did happen. Are you keeping notes, guys, at home? You're keeping tally here? And then Steven, they ask Steven, are you gonna say something, homie? And Steven confirms it himself. Oh, Nick, you're out. You're out for the count, homie. But Monica says, I'm not done yet, and tells the audience that Nick was telling people as they were flying out of Mexico on the airplane that they're filming a show, almost as to say, all eyes on me. Now, in the midst of all of this, another point was brought up about how Nick rated Hannah, like stars out of 10, you know what I mean? And then Steven says, listen, guys, I gotta clarify something. I don't remember the ratings conversation. I remember Nick saying she looks like a grenade and not nice things about her, but the ratings combo, I don't remember that too much. At this point, Steven, just stay quiet. Your time is coming. Garrett then chimes in again, so that's like the third time he's chimed in, and says, I can't wait to move past this moment, and it's immature. But I agree with Monica in her response to Garrett, where Monica says, no, you are not moving past this. We have to talk about this, and it's true. It's a reunion. We need the drama. Garrett, stop it. Stop it. And as everyone's yelling back and forth, Marissa said, Ramses, you want to just sit there quietly? Go figure. Hey, yo. Marissa is getting... No, I'm not going to say that. No, I would not say that. BC James might say that, but not me now. But, man, Marissa is just really, really grilling Ramses. Alex then chimes in once more and says, listen, Nick, we know, everyone knows that you didn't like what Hannah looked like during the reveal. So Ramses felt compelled in this moment, maybe living with some sort of regret, and says, yo, Nick, this is the time to take accountability because we all make mistakes, and we've made mistakes this season on Love is Blind. It's your turn. So Nick then confirms and says, okay, I did say that Hannah underwhelmed me at the reveal, but I never made the grenade comment or rated her. To which then everyone starts yapping, chirping at each other. And Nick said, yo, listen, guys, excuse me. If this is all true, then why did Hannah invite me over her place a month after she and I called off the engagement? Well, Hannah reveals that it was because, and this is her words, do I have to say it, guys? Oh my gosh. It's because she wanted to basically see if the relations were good between them. Yeah. But it's so funny because in this instance, Marissa said, she invited you over because we all do crazy things. Hey, I was having relations with Ramses. Go figure. And then Marissa's mom's side-eye was really funny in this moment because she's like, I don't want to hear this. Ugh. So this is clearly the best segment on the reunion so far. It's very dramatic. And then the Lacheys invite in another party. The Lacheys ask Katie about the convo she had with Nick at that couples party that invited some past contestants from the pods. And Katie said, listen, I have nothing more to really add here, but I had no idea, Hannah, that you were upset. If I knew that, I would have immediately apologized to you, and that she's since like made amends with Hannah and stuff. And then Hannah said, listen, I shouldn't have said I don't trust you, and they're like making up, and oh, it's so sweet, whatever, back to the drama. And that's because we got Leo and Brittany being brought out. Okay, maybe this wasn't as dramatic as I previously thought. Funny because when they're walking out, Leo's looking for Brittany to grab his arm, and that didn't happen, so then Leo does his little thing to Brittany, and I thought, bro, if you don't just sit down and read another darn poem. Surprisingly, in this segment, Tim was coming to bat for Leo and says, hey, Leo's a misunderstood guy and a high-level thinker. He would say this. We'll get to Tim. Now, I did feel like there was a transition that Nick Lachey had, and it was his slickest transition all day, because he says, Leo, you come on the show, you said you wanted to find a tennis partner for life, but in tennis, love literally means zero, nothing, nada, and that's what you left with after this season. How do you feel? Leo admits that, yeah, I didn't do a great job at being so indecisive, and I should not have tried to convince Hannah to tell other people that it was a mutual breakup. No, Hannah dumped me. And then he apologizes to both Hannah and Brittany. And the love triangle after that it's the last we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But Brittany reveals that, yeah, there were some awkward moments for me too, but the most comforting part of the entire reveal, you remember when Leo's kind of like smooching up on her and she wasn't feeling it? Brittany said the most comforting part of the reveal was Leo, and that she wishes Leo would have kissed her more. What? I just can't with Brittany. I can't with Leo either, to be honest with you. But we do eventually find out that the producers didn't think her and Leo would make it to the altar, so they said, you ain't going to Mexico. And that's what we all figured happened. And then we saw photos of them in Miami. It was a Rolex and a ring shot, and then a selfie. But Brittany says, hey, yo, I don't like traveling with Leo. And Leo said, I recognize we're just better as friends. So that's that. It's now time to transition into the Steven and Monica segment, which is like maybe mid-tier drama because the Tim and Alex segment is more dramatic. But let me not get ahead of myself here. So Steven reveals that the sleep test showed him that he has sleep apnea, and we did eventually see that Steven took a sleep test, but he also side texted another woman, which is emotionally cheating on your partner. Actually, you don't even put the emotion part in it. It's cheating regardless. Steven said, listen, I'm not going to go too deep into this situation out of respect for the woman that I was texting. And Monica chimes in and says, excuse me, you didn't have respect for me in that situation, but you want to respect this side chick? And then the crowd starts cheering. Clearly, everyone's team Monica at this point because she's not wrong. So Steven says, hey, I've done a lot of things. I did therapy. I've taken care of myself. I've worked on myself internally and externally, and audience, everybody watching this, I sent a letter to your parents, Monica, apologizing. And Monica did not like that. She actually didn't want him to say that, but she reveals that I had a funny, weird feeling that you were going to bring this up at the reunion, and you only wrote that letter to make yourself look good at the reunion. And you know what? I agree with her. Steven then starts to get on the defensive and says, listen, nobody cares about my side of the story, so why should I even share it? He's positioning himself as the victim. Bruh, you're too far gone for that. Sorry, you are not the victim in this situation. You've done all of this to yourself. And he recognizes, hey, I made a mistake. But he's also playing the victim. That doesn't work. He explains that I did have a moment of weakness, and that this woman told him that she had a heart condition, and then told Steven, so I've gotten into some interesting things lately. Things. Starts with an F. Ugh, gross. Steven said he entertained that conversation and he shouldn't have, but he also didn't delete the text messages immediately, which tells me that he was playing along with it and hoping he didn't get caught. I mean, he said he's a cheater in the pause, right? So we gotta believe him. Steven said, hey, I didn't actually ever meet up with the girl in person that I cheated on Monica with. I just met her on IG and I never spoke to her again. And this is where I thought they would continue to dive into some more aspects, right? But no, they immediately transition away, and I'm like, Lachey's, this is an awkward transition because it just felt rushed and unfinished. But in retrospect, now we're going to get into the Alex and Tim segment. Maybe I'm glad that we left more time for Alex and Tim segment, because listen, if there were any boxing gloves on set that day and you gave them to Alex and Tim, I feel like Alex would have been like a little right and a little left to Tim because Tim was making her mad and vice versa. So Nick immediately begins and says, "Can you guys tell us what we didn't see during the Mexico argument? What happened off camera?" And thank God he asked that question, because honestly, I was frustrated, as you know, with all the off-camera arguments. Alex said, "Listen, we had a verbal argument," and the way she worded that was like, "Oh, it's not too bad." Oh no, it was bad. And Alex said she recently found out that her father had to be checked into a rehabilitation facility, and she was really upset, and she didn't want to be crowded. She wanted her space. She wanted to go to bed, shower, and go back to bed. But Tim was just trying to figure out, he says, "Hey, what's going on? My fiance, why are you crying?" And Alex didn't like that. Alex does confirm that, yes, I did put my hand over Tim's mouth, and I called you outside your name. Now, when you call someone out their name, I mean, ooh, you better. you just gotta be careful because of the response that you'll get, and Tim was not happy. Alex and Tim confirmed that no, there was no physical assault that took place. However, it got heated because of what Alex called him. And Alex called him a little AB. And I'm not talking little Antonio Brown. No, little AB. Whew. So this got Tim real heated, and Alex was ready to clap back. So they begin arguing on set, and they get real loud. Alex saying things like, "Tim, you only listen to yourself," and through it all, everyone's feeling awkward. And Tim tries to, I guess, get a leg up in the conversation and says, "This is a woman in whom I loved at one point." And then all the girls are shaking their head, and they're just not believing Tim during this entire ordeal. And of course, the Lacheys have to pivot and say, "Well, can you kind of talk about the napping then, when you met Tim's parents?" Alex claims that she had to bartend late at night that day, and that's why she took her nap after meeting Tim's parents before she had to go and work a late shift. And this is where Alex says, "I'm just so upset because Tim has been lying, and Tim claims he's being attacked during this moment, so they're not seeing eye to eye, clearly." Alex even says under her breath that she's going to lose it. And, well, Vanessa was hoping that didn't happen because she breaks the conversation up and says, "I think because this is the first time you've spoken in years that you guys need to speak privately." I literally said out loud, No, Vanessa, they don't need to speak privately. We need to see everything in the reunion. Make it one to remember. And I mean, that was a memorable segment. Tim did say he'll never speak to her privately, and Alex is probably okay with that. Let's just say there will be no conversation between them off camera, and there will be no reconciliation. They're probably just going to go their separate ways. So as we get towards the end of the reunion, we get a segment with Jessica, a previous Love is Blind contestant, I think from season 1. She's married now. She's got a kid. I fast forwarded through the whole thing. I don't care. I want to get back to our season 7 couples. But before that, they got to do more of these things. So Nancy from season 3 says she's met the love of her life. And then Marshall says, "I'm still single." Great. Okay, Taylor and Garrett segment. It was nice to see Taylor's parents. And Taylor's mom was getting emotional when talking about her daughter and her son-in-law's love. I really like Taylor's parents. They seem pretty cool, right? Super funny sometimes too. But then they ask questions to Garrett and Taylor, "Where are you guys living?" And they're currently living, well, at the time of the reunion recording, they're currently living in Fredericksburg, and they're looking to move to DC. Now remember, Taylor lived in DC, wanted to go to San Diego, and they both revealed that they tried that. However, Garrett was not comfortable with being away from his family, so Taylor said, "You're my husband, I love you through thick and thin, so my home is with Garrett." And I thought, oh, that is so sweet to say. So they found like a middle ground, and that middle ground happened to literally be in Fredericksburg. Yeah. So they're now looking again to move to DC. So back to Taylor's stomping grounds, and Garrett was familiar with, I'm sure, the place. So it just seems like they're doing well, and they're unproblematic, and it is sweet, and I'm glad they're still married. They're taking things slow, they said. So no talk about babies. Thanks, Vanessa and Lachey, for not trying to put that into the moment. But yeah, they seem to be just taking things day by day, and they're not rushing into anything, which is not a bad thing. Enjoy your marriage. Enjoy your married years before you bring a child into the mix, right? I think that's healthy. And then at the very end of the reunion, we get this video montage of Ashley and Tyler and their moments together during their first year of marriage, and I'm thinking, I don't really care. I hate to say that. I'm not trying to be rude, guys. I just don't care about these moments in the reunion because it's just fluff. It's just to fill airtime. it was not engaging in the slightest, but glad they're doing well, right? And I hope they continue to do well after Ashley finds out he owes like thousands of dollars in child support. So I hope they can make it work, right? We'll see. But this was a cool bit of news that season 8 of Love is Blind has been confirmed, as we all know, but the city has been revealed to be Minneapolis, and it will take place and debut on Valentine's Day 2025. So some contestants from season 8 were at the reunion, and then at the very, very end, all the contestants get together, gold chalices, and Leo recites a poem. Alrighty, guys, to Love is Blind, where I can't even rhyme right now. I'm really thirsty. And there you have it, you guys. That is the very end of our Season 7 Love is Blind reunion, where sparks flew, but not in a good way for some contestants. So y'all gotta let me know in the comments which segment was your favorite, what you think about some of the couples and how they've either resolved their differences or maybe created more chasms in their personal relationship. So I need to know your thoughts, and hey, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel below, you guys. We're almost at 30,000 subscribers, and it's all because of your support. I thank God for you guys, and I'm so glad that another season of Love is Blind is in the books. But don't worry, I'm going to keep track for some of the other Love is Blind shows and maybe some more reality TV that I can cover, because I know you guys love that. Alrighty, y'all. Well, again, thanks so much for watching. God bless you guys, and I'll catch you at the next screening. Alright, where did I put those scissors? I need to go put those scissors back before Marissa's mom finds them.